Imagine this. You wake up early every single day, rush to work, put in 10 to 12 hours, sometimes even work on weekends.
You sacrifice your sleep, your family time, your health.
And yet, at the end of the month, when you check your bank balance, it feels like you're stuck in the same place. Broke, stressed, and just barely surviving. Sounds familiar? You're not alone.
Millions of Americans are working longer hours than ever before, but somehow they are still living paycheck to paycheck. Why is that?
Why is it that even after grinding for 60 hours a week, people in the world's richest country still feel poor? Today, let's break this down and understand the truth behind wage stagnation, inflation, and America's cost of living crisis. Let's start with wages. Most Americans believe that if they work hard, they should be rewarded with higher pay. But the reality is very different. Since the 1970s, worker productivity in America has skyrocketed. People are producing more. Businesses are making record profits. CEOs are earning hundreds of times more than the average worker. And yet, wages for ordinary workers have barely grown. Think about it. If you were making $5 an hour in the 1970s, adjusted for inflation, today that should be worth almost $25 an hour. But the reality, most people are stuck earning $15, $12 or sometimes even less. While your rent, healthcare, education, and groceries keep getting more expensive every year, your paycheck has hardly kept up. This isn't just bad luck, it's by design. Corporations have found ways to cut costs by squeezing employees, outsourcing jobs, automating roles, or hiring contract workers with no benefits. So even if you're putting in 60 hours a week, your effort isn't being rewarded the way it should. Now let's talk about inflation. You've probably noticed that groceries that once cost $50 now cost $80, and a simple night out at a restaurant burns a hole in your wallet.
Inflation is like a hidden tax. It eats away at your money without you even realizing it. The last few years have been brutal.
From housing prices to gas to healthcare, costs have gone up at record levels. Meanwhile, salaries haven't kept up. For example, the average rent in major US cities has shot past $2,000 a month, while the federal minimum wage is still stuck at $7.25 an hour, unchanged since 2009. Imagine working 60 hours a week at that rate. You'd still barely be able to afford rent, let alone save for the future. And here's the harsh truth. Inflation doesn't hit everyone equally. Wealthy people own assets like stocks and real estate that grow in value when inflation rises. But workers, they're left with shrinking paychecks and mounting bills. This brings us to the cost of living. If you feel like life has gotten ridiculously expensive, you're right. Let's break it down. Housing. Home prices and rents have soared, making it nearly impossible for young people to buy their first home. Healthcare. One medical emergency can bankrupt a middle-class family. Even with insurance, out-of-pocket costs are crushing. Education. Student loans are a lifelong burden, trapping graduates in debt before they even start their careers. Childcare. Raising a child can cost tens of thousands of dollars a year, leaving working parents with no breathing space. So when you're working 60 hours a week, most of your money disappears into these unavoidable expenses.
You're not poor because you don't work hard enough.
You're poor because the system is rigged to keep you barely surviving, while the rich keep getting richer. Another reason you're stuck is because of the way modern jobs are structured. Overtime doesn't always mean extra pay.
Many salaried workers don't even qualify for overtime. And even when they do, the extra hours often don't compensate for the burnout, the stress, and the health problems that come from overworking.
In fact, studies show that people are working longer hours than previous generations, but have less wealth to show for it. Why? Because wealth is no longer tied to hard work. It's tied to assets, investments, and ownership.
And that's exactly where most working-class Americans are locked out.
Here's the uncomfortable truth. The harder you work, the more someone else benefits.
The CEO, the shareholder, the investor, they're the ones cashing in on your long hours.
That's why you see billionaires adding billions to their net worth during economic crises, while average workers line up at food banks. It's not about your work ethic. It's about how wealth is distributed. America has the resources to ensure that no full-time worker lives in poverty, but instead, policies and corporate practices have created a system where working 60 hours a week is still not enough. So the next time you feel like you're failing because you're still broke despite working day and night, remember this. It's not your fault.